Let's get ready to rumble!
The news got out in July that this was going to happen and Frank Warren denied it. Said he was happy at TNT. But it's official. April the 1st, Queensbury, 2025, will be moving from TNT to DAZN. Coincidentally, the news comes on the back of Shabazz Masood Matchroom going over to enemy territory, Queensbury, on TNT to defeat the unbeaten Liam Davis in what was a thrilling battle in Birmingham. And Frank and Eddie have been working together on Riyadh season for a little while, and it now means they'll be able to reinforce the domestic boxing scene between Matchroom and Queensbury, as well as satisfy the Public Investment Fund and Turki Al Sheikh over Riyadh. A multi-year media rights agreement with DAZN. The deal will make DAZN the exclusive home of Queensbury elite boxing events starting in April 2025. They could practically put on a card nearly every week of high standard. Some say there might not be enough room for both Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. I wouldn't have thought that would be an issue, personally. The Sauerlands on Channel 5 have a different market from the apps and satellite, in all truth. How does Boxer Ben Shalom survive this? Does Ben Shalom and Boxer go over to DAZN? Market forces. All the big names under one umbrella. If Anthony Joshua is still boxing, DAZN. Tyson Fury, if he's still there. Fabio Wardley, Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron. I mean, Frank's got half the heavyweight division there. This is the golden era of boxing, not British boxing, of boxing. Certain countries might not agree with what I say, but it is what it is. And I'm not going to argue with anyone who said that AJ swerved Daniel Dubois. I'm not going to argue with that. But the plan now is to make Fury versus AJ, regardless if Tyson Fury wins on the 21st of December or not. And it's going to be absolute mayhem.
Queensbury arrives at the home of boxing, DAZN, multi-year deal. Let's go.
This is a company that is devoted to boxing. They have a worldwide platform. And for us, that is very, very important to do what Queensbury is doing, to be expanding and building, working together for the betterment of boxing, as I believe it will be.
Big up Jeamie Tkv. Big up Jamie. He got a nice win on the undercard of Azim versus O'Hara Davis against Frank Ignatius. Decent heavyweight. I heard people critiquing Jamie after I bigged him up on Twitter. Saying, I don't really rate him. Oh, your business that. I didn't say he was no world title contender. You know what I mean? It's easy to critique from outside the ropes, but Jamie got the stoppage. He did what he had to do. Jamie's from the ends, bro. I'm hoping he can get some nice paydays and do what he's got to do. Why am I bringing up Jamie? Because, yeah, the Ignatius fight was good matchmaking. Their records in terms of statistics are comparable and experience. But one fight before that, at the York Hall, that Al Siesta, who I'm not a big fan of, he pitched Jamie in there when he was 5-0 with this Brazilian guy who was 12-1. 12-1, right? The only loss was to Sergei Kuzmin, right? And he lost in the last round to Kuzmin. His record was 12-1. He's had one fight since he beat Jeamie Tkv. He beat Jamie by an injury stoppage. This guy has got 13 wins, 1 loss. All 13 are inside the distance. I saw Jamie at the local supermarket in the ends. I said, Jamie. He didn't know who I was. I introduced myself. I said, cool. Don't let that man take you for no idiot in there, bro. Because there's certain boxers they wouldn't have pitched in there. How come Frazer Clarke didn't fight that guy? You're both boxer fighters. No, they didn't put Frazer Clarke in there with that guy. They put Jamie in there to fill out the York Hall card. And that's how boxers get used up in the game. I told Jamie, I've been following his career. I pointed out what I told him with the Brazilian guy. I pointed that out, that you shouldn't have been in there with him unless they double your purse. And then I pointed out how he beat Harry Armstrong. And he's wondering, how does he know so much? Yeah, I said, I see you beat Harry Armstrong. And then Harry Armstrong goes on to fight Johnny Fisher for the vacant Southern Area title. And there you are, getting packed off the fight, Brazilian knockout merchant in the bloody York Hall. You're getting played.
But yo, you step this way, you get played out of position.
Name me a fighter who Johnny Fisher, who they're raving about, has fought with 13 wins, all coming by a knockout on his record. Name one guy who's fought like that. Johnny Fisher is a product of matchmaking and the machine and his ability to sell tickets. Johnny gets Dave Allen, rematch season, undercard of Usyk versus Fury. Nice bag. Nice work if you can get it. I know what a lot of you are thinking. As soon as he runs into anyone with an iota of boxing IQ, hype over. I know what you're thinking. The man's a Southern area level fighter at the moment. Packed 8,000 into the copper box. He said he'd be honoured to fight Derek Chisora, but out of respect, I won't call him out. I respect him too much, you know what I mean? So they want a Chisora type name. Roll the dice. He beats Chisora, then copper box is done. He's O2 Arena. He's O2 Arena after that. Like, a Chisora fight doesn't even go to the copper box. It goes straight to the O2. When Johnny spoke about Chisora, he didn't speak about how the purses will be tallied up. But when he responded to Moses Otoma about why would Johnny take a fight with him that could end his career, Johnny started talking about, well, I'm the one putting the bums in the seats. I'll take the fight, but it's got to make sense to me. And there's nothing really Otoma can reply and say to Johnny, because he can't put 8,000 bums on seats anywhere in the country. The only way that fight happens anytime soon is if Turkey and the Public Investment Fund say, yeah, we want to see that fight now. Then Johnny's A-side privileges will be taken away. When you think about guys like Jeamie Tkv, who I spoke about in the second part, he took the fight against the Brazilian Mercado with all the knockouts because he probably needed the money. And if he declined the fight, Al Siesta and Ben Shalom are going to say, well, Jeamie is not helping us out here. They need to fill out them York call cards. He's not helping us out. And the phone might not ring. A lot of coaches in boxing, British boxing, I'm not going to say no names, they sell their fighters out to promoters. Yeah, you go in there in the last minute and take on so-and-so. Go on, you can do it. And these fighters take these fights because it's the macho thing. You don't want to look soft. And you don't want to give the promoter or the industry an excuse to blackball you when they put it out there that you're difficult to work with. If you can't get on Sky, TNT or DAZN, and you're reduced to doing illegal ticket deals with a promoter, which the board do not allow, but they turn a blind eye to it, a lot of fighters basically end up fighting for free. It's a perilous game, boxing. It really is. A lot of people think the promoters are just exploiters, and some are, but it does cost a whole lot of money to put shows on. It really does. The outgoing expenses are a whole lot, and the boxer's ticket sales have to recoup that. And the boxer has to sell a certain amount of tickets before he can even think of getting a purse for himself. A lot of people think as long as you've got talent, or if you think you've got talent, that you'll just be able to box. It doesn't work like that in this country, or no other country for that matter. Oh, I don't rate Jeamie. You don't rate Jeamie. Do you know what Jeamie has to go through just to get in the ring? You got to be tough to survive them fights where you're overmatched against someone with more experience. Gang load of KOs and then come back from the L. Then go in a 50-50 fight, be able to win the fight and stay in contention. And fighters like Jeamie, they're basically waiting for the phone to ring. And you still got to keep training. And you've got to stay motivated. The mental toughness that you need in them hard times. As a boxer, I think it's underappreciated. Jeamie's a tough kid. He sparred with Anthony Joshua, sparred with a lot of people over there where Ben Davison is doing his thing. He's a tough kid. And he's not the only one. There's a lot of tough kids surviving a lot of hardship just to have a glimmer of perhaps being able to fight for a major title. And I'm not talking about no major world sanctioning bodies. I'm talking about European, if you're lucky, Commonwealth and British. Sky spent a lot of money to get the signatures of Ben Whittaker and Frazer Clarke after the 2021 Olympics. And you know what? Ben Whittaker's absence is more about embarrassment. He wasn't hurt badly when they went over the ropes, him and Cameron. But Frazer has potential career-threatening injuries. And he himself talked his way into a fight with Fabio Wardley prematurely. And in Ben Shalom's defense, he didn't want to take that fight. He withdrew him from the purse bid in the first attempt to make that fight. He was saying Frazer needs more fights. One relatively mediocre performance over Marius Wack later. He was in the ring with Fabio. And the first fight was really good. But in the second, you can see why Ben didn't want Frazier to take the fight. A lot of these fighters think they're better than what they are, when the truth is they need a lot more seasoning. A mere 3 years into the pro game, and not even 20 wins between them, they're looking like depreciating assets right now. Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, he wanted to sign them. And Ben put up all that paper to get them ahead of Matchroom. There was talk that Whittaker might be out of contract and Eddie might swoop in and poach. Does Eddie want Ben Whittaker right now? If I was Eddie, I would take Ben Whittaker. I would take him. Still in his mid-20s, while Frazer, I think, overstayed his welcome in the amateurs. And pre-fight, before the rematch with Wardley, I said we could have seen the best of Frazer Clarke in the first fight. We could have done. And a comeback for either one, for Ben Whittaker and Frazer, is a huge job, but I'd give Ben more of a shot at being successful than Frazer Clarke right now. You know, you got to remind yourself that Liam Cameron actually didn't beat Ben Whittaker. It was a draw after 5 completed rounds. But, you know, boxing is different to other sports. Like in football, if we're talking about the league or cup competitions, there are really no moral victories. You either get the 3 points to advance your position in the league, or you slip down the table. An example is Derek Chisora getting a world title shot at Vitaly Klitschko after losing a controversial decision to Robert Helenius in Finland. Most people thought Derek won, including Vitaly, and he got a world title shot on the strength of that. With boxing, the moral victory is nearly as important as the official result on BoxRec. And Liam Cameron has spent the last few days, whether it's at the press conference or the weigh-in for Liam Davis versus Masood on Saturday, grabbing the mic, doing interviews, mocking Ben Whittaker, taunting him about a potential rematch. Frank Warren and Queensbury signed him because of how well he did against Ben Whittaker, and he's grabbing that limelight, promoting himself. Whether that's a Whittaker rematch, an Ezra Taylor fight down the line, we'll see what's next. Is he as good as all the publicity he's courting now? I don't think he is. I knew he was pretty good after the Lyndon Arthur fight. It was a split decision, but I thought Lyndon won clearly. The next light heavyweight champion of the world, Liam Cameron. Crazier things have happened, but I wouldn't put money on it. Ben Whittaker resurfaced on social media with an injury update. And, you know, he stayed in character. He trolled the haters from a scene from Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. The guy who played Apollo Creed's trainer, he was in the scene. I don't know if you know the film. I'm not familiar with it. And that's what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like, you can't give the media or the fans or the haters what they want for you to curl up in a ball saying, I'm sorry for trolling and showboating. No, you got to come back firing. That's what you got to do. I guess with Ben and Frazer, the Olympics was 2021. They turned pro 2022 on Boxer/Sky. But since 2021, they haven't even had 20 fights between them. And at this stage, Sky Sports are probably expecting more from their investment. And the pressure now, after their last 2 results, might be to fast track them. Because if you put them in there with mediocre to average opposition, you're just going to get negative responses from fans, haters and media. The boxer can say he's blocking all that out, but often they don't. They take it to heart and it does affect them. A lot of people, whether they're uploaders or in the comment section, they're just followers, in all truth. To write off Ben Whittaker at 27 years of age in, what is it, 9 or 8 fights? You can't write someone off after 8 fights. He hasn't even fought for a British title yet. It's too early. But you can't tell them that. They know everything. Perhaps Frazer is too comfortable. A lot of people are going to disagree. But I'm talking about an extreme sport in which the rules and terms of engagement are not applicable to regular citizens like myself. Frazer said he trains 5 days a week, then he goes home to the family. While Marvin Hagler used to shut himself away in Cape Cod, Provincetown, Massachusetts, in some abandoned hotel where he had a cook. Basic stuff like a television, I think mainly to watch film of his opponents and study. But it was just very basic. 6-mile run, early morning, breakfast, cardio in the evening, dinner, sparring. And this place was closed off from everything. And he used to call it prison, his training camp. And there wasn't no weekends going back home or nothing like that. He'd spend long periods there. Whole training camps. I'm not saying Frazer has to do that. But if it weren't for Marvin Hagler, I think at the least Frazer needs to undomesticate himself if he's to survive in the jungle of heavyweight boxing. David Price, when he was training with Tommy Brooks after losing twice to Tony Thompson, he hooked up with Tommy Brooks from America. And rather than he up sticks and go over to where Tommy was, he said he was homesick, and you saw how the rest of his career panned out. But fighters like Lloyd Hunnigan, he used to spend time in Philly sparring Buster Drayton, the 154-pound champion, tough as nails. Lloyd, two-time welterweight champion.
Here's the champion with me, Lloyd. That was some job you did there. You've never done a better job in your life than that, have you?
Well, I was in the best condition in my life, Harry, because I went to America. I told my manager I want to go to America to train from no one, because I can get the right kind of training, the right kind of sparring. I've been sparring with a champion in the world for this fight. You can't get that sort of sparring in England. I was fit than I've ever been in my life. I was ready to eat that guy alive.
Nigel Benn, after losing to Michael Watson, uprooted and left to go to America and trained in a very tough part of America, in a tough gym, which I can't recall right now. And then had 5 fights on the bounce in America, all of which he won, including winning the world title. Dennis Andrews, after losing to Thomas Hearns in Detroit, relocated to the Kronk gym. When he lost to Hearns, he lost his WBC light heavyweight title. And then under the tuition of Manny Stewart in America, he became a 3-time light heavyweight champion. And they said he was the toughest fighter in the gym. Lennox Lewis, he left England, didn't he? To first train with Pepe Correa and then Manny Stewart. There's a pattern there. And I'm not saying they necessarily have to go to America in 2024. Once again, I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but boxing is an extreme sport. And I believe while you're trying to get to the top, you might have to say, boy, I'm either married to my family or I'm married to boxing. But both of them might be a difficult one to juggle if you aim to be successful in boxing. Let's do some news in brief. So, Francisco Paco Vacarel, WBO president, 76 years of age, is stepping down. He's promoting Gustavo Oliveira to be his replacement. Never heard of him. He's been there since the mid-90s, Paco, but forget that. We need to ask the WBO is how Errol Spence hasn't won a fight in 2.5 years and has now entered the WBO rankings at 154. Obviously, they're trying to make this Sebastian Fundora fight and finish Errol off for good, because I don't see him winning the fight. We'll see though. Maybe you could produce an upset.
This is some bull.
Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Schofield's dad got Junior to talk trash about Shakur Stevenson to sell himself and his fight on Saturday. I believe on Thursday, I made the observation on Twitter that Schofield is too clumsy to mess with Shakur Stevenson. Floyd Schofield is the poor man's version of Sean Porter, the way he leaps in, although he tried to be a little more controlled this fight, and you can see they're trying to get him to be more patient and be more of an outright boxer, but it looks like he's having to memorize what he has to do rather than it just flowing. And against the durable Mexican, GIRON, he was floored in the 11th by an overhand left. I don't think he was as hurt as bad as people are saying, and the fight went the full 12, and a lot of people are writing him off. Now, see, here's the thing. While I said he was too clumsy for Shakur, there's a little balance to the debate. He's not the worst fighter. He's still got a long time. He's only 22. He's a kid. I'm not sure about his old man being his cornerman as well, because in the third, he made a stupid mistake. He was boxing okay, and then he decided to have a row with GIRON, and he got hurt. And he walked away from the action, as to say he got hit by a rabbit punch. GIRON was entitled to take a free shot, which he didn't. And when Schofield got back to his corner, his dad was cussing F-bombs and screaming and shouting, and that wasn't necessary. Them instructions could have been spoke to him. He wasn't on the floor, he wasn't really shaken up, he did get tagged, but the shouting and the cursing was unnecessary. Ronnie Shields was in the corner as a second. He also cornered Beck the Bully in his fight with Stevens, which was a good fight. And he might be the better option in terms of coach. The left hand, it was a left hand that put him down in the 11th, and he got countered. He swung a wild right, abandoned his jab, and got countered with the left, was put down. And he was caught and tagged repeatedly in the 11th and 12th. And at times he reacts weird to pressure, like in the third, when he walked away with his back to GIRON. And Shakur Stevenson was running tweets while the fight was happening. He said, "You're lucky he didn't clip you when you turned away." And he did something similar in the 12th. In an exchange, he just froze, like he was waiting for the referee to stop GIRON from punching. He's got a lot to work on. although the last 2 rounds are very entertaining. Shakur let him know that if the Zubaydah fight falls through, they can do it next. He'll be very confident of beating Floyd Schofield based on what he saw. His dad was also talking crap about Tank Davis, that they could knock out Tank. I would take the Shakur Stevenson fight if I was them over the Tank fight. Tank starches him. Chris Maddox, he also said that this kid is years away from a Shakur fight. I agree. He's a little way off the standard right now.